After navigating down the southeastern tip of Ireland, the Royal Princess sailed into the Cork harbour early on September 19. Cobh, a sleepy town located on the south shore of the Great Island in Cork Harbour, one of the largest natural harbours in the world, is home to Ireland's only dedicated cruise terminal. As soon as we disembarked, we visited Cobb's Heritage Centre, housed in the restored Victorian railway station. The Cobh Heritage Centre walks you through its history, and these are some of the highlights. The Titanic disaster, great loss of life. 40,000 Irish men and women sent to Australia as convicts. Ships sailed from Cobh directly to Australia. Failure of potato crop and disease ravishes the country. 1815–1970. 3 million emigrated from Queenstown. Annie Moore, the first Irish immigrant to be processed in Ellis Island, 1st January 1892, a symbol of the many Irish people who embarked on the same journey. Lusitania sunk. 1198 die as Lusitania is torpedoed off Irish coast. Cobh, named Queenstown Between, has been long associated with the age of ocean steamliners and the Irish emigration of the late 19th and early 20th century. It was in this time that the city was named Queenstown, after becoming the first Irish town to be visited by Queen Victoria. However, the emphasis of the Queenstown story focuses on showing the luxury of the early 20th century ships in comparison to the poorness from which parts of the Irish society fled. The exhibition nowadays occupies the largest part of the Victorian train station. On January 1, 1892, Annie Moore, a 15-year-old girl from County Cork, Ireland, made headlines as the first immigrant to be processed at Ellis Island. She is honored by statues on both sides of the Atlantic at the Ellis Island National Monument, New York Harbor, and at Cobh Heritage Centre. Her image will forever represent the millions who passed through Ellis Island in pursuit of the American dream, and is a symbol for immigrants of all nations that have contributed to the rich fabric of the United States. Kennedy Park, known locally as the Prom, extends right to the edge of the sea. It's a very popular town park, always busy with local families and visitors alike. The park is dominated by this really pretty bandstand. St. Colman's Cathedral, the town's most distinguishable landmark, crowns the top of the slopes. Its 300-foot spire pierces the Irish sky. Construction started in 1867, but was not completed until 1915. Cobb's Cathedral is a typical representative of British 19th century neo-Gothic architecture and one of the most splendid and expensive in Ireland. However, you will quickly recognize that it is completely out of size for a town like Cobh. The carillon is probably the most often mentioned feature of the cathedral. With 49 bells, it is said to be the largest in the British Islands. Its south front faces out to the sea and hosts flying buttresses, gargoyles and pinnacles. The blue granite exterior detail is intricate, elegant and well proportioned. The main doorway and the rose window above it are exquisite. Features of the beautiful interior are the columns of polished marble, the mosaic flooring, the diapered wall ornamentation, the elaborately carved capitals, the open triforium and its molded arches and columns, the apse with its tracery, the rich coloring of the windows, and the beautiful detail of the marble reredos. The high altar is exquisite, and the only criticism would be the size of the tabernacle. Sculpture depicting the Nativity of Jesus. Sculpture depicting Jesus' ascension to heaven. The chancel is furnished in richly carved Austrian oak. The high altar rail gate. Details of the beautifully carved Austrian oak pulpit follow. The complex pulpit, the oak and pitch pine for the pews, the vaulted ceiling and organ casing warmed the nave. Beautiful view of the back rose window. The Chapel of the Pietà is a memorial to Bishop William King. The theme is in the window above the altar, which depicts the raising of Lazarus. The Chapel of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. The Chapel of Our Lady. Beyond the Lady Chapel is the Blessed Thaddeus Chapel, which commemorates Thaddeus McCarthy, Bishop of Cork and Cloyne, 1490–1492, who was beatified by Pope Leo XIII in 1895. The baptistry is enclosed by a low rail on white Italian marble. The windows depict the baptism of Christ in the Jordan by Saint John and the baptism of the daughters of the King of Ireland by Saint Patrick. The cupola-shaped cover is of burnished brass, and the octagonal font is of white marble. The mortuary chapel has windows that depict the crucifixion and the resurrection of Christ. The altar is adorned with black Kilkenny marble. Coming out of the cathedral, you are rewarded for the effort in climbing up so high with the great panoramic views of Cork Harbour laid out below. The Titanic trail plaque stating some facts about St. Colman's Cathedral. Foundation stone laid in 1868, completed in 1916. This photograph taken from the tenders to the Titanic show the cathedral without its spire. Today the spire contains the largest carillon in Ireland or Britain. Stations of the cross, typically placed at intervals along the side walls of the nave of a church, here they are contained in niches along a retaining wall near St. Colman's Cathedral. Jesus taken down from the cross. Jesus is laid in the tomb. When the Cunard line ship Lusitania was sunk in 1915 in Kingsdale, rescue efforts were coordinated from this office, while bodies of the victims were brought to the space in front of the office. Years later, the building was sold and passed several hands. However, you can still see some details showing the Cunard heritage. Note the beautiful flower patterns. The Lusitania Memorial was designed by Jerome Connor and unveiled in 1945. The total construction of the monument took 11 years. The Lusitania Memorial is far larger than the one of the Titanic, which is only a very short walk away. To emphasize the importance of the local fishermen in rescuing the survivors, two of them are depicted in the memorial below the so-called Angel of Peace. The sinking of the Lusitania changed the worldwide public opinion for Germany for the worse and was probably one of the factors which led to the USA joining World War I. Though the sinking of the Lusitania evokes more memories in the history of Cobh, the sinking of the Titanic is also associated with this harbor town. Cobh, then Queenstown, was the last port of call for the infamous ocean liner on April 11, 1912. From the 123 people who embarked in Cobh, almost all of them third-class passengers, only 44 survived. A museum called Titanic Experience has been established in the former building of the White Star Line. It takes you through the story of this infamous ship, from its construction at Harland and Wolff in Belfast to its sinking in the night of April 15, 1912. The Commodore Hotel, an 1854 seafront hotel with comfy rooms, many with harbor views, elegant dining, and a maritime bar. A bed and breakfast recommended by Rick Steves. Pillar's Bar, property for sale. Church turned into bar. This shrine was erected by the bishop, priests, and people of Cobh to commemorate the Marian year, 1954. Cobh's Town Council. View of the Cobh Museum. The former Scots church, built in 1854, it was closed in 1969 due to a drop in attendance. In 1973, the building reopened as the Cobh Museum. New exhibition in 2014 tells the important and often untold story of the role that the horse played in the First World War. The present Sirius Arts Centre was formerly a clubhouse for the Royal Cork Yacht Club organization. The Cobh Confraternity Band saluted the Royal Princess on her first anniversary, just as she was getting ready to move ahead out of the harbour.